place. You got a medal, 1820 for a 5K.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting, President and Board of Trustees of Village of Tinley Park, Cook and Will County, being held on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2003, beginning at 6:35 p.m. Can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Brady?
Here?
Trustee Brennan?
Present.
Trustee Mahoney?
Present.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes, or
Trustee
here, sorry.
Trustee Shaw?
Present.
Trustee Sullivan?
Here.
President Klotz?
Present. Thank you. Item number 1, I'd like to ask the board for a motion to consider approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Roll call for item 1, Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item number 2. I'd like to ask the board for a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the regular village board meeting held on September 19th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Roll call for item 2, Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item number 3. Commissioner Donna Miller is not able to attend tonight. We will move forward to item number 4. Trustee Bill Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to consider adopting Resolution 2023-R-118, recognizing Fire Prevention Week in the Village of Tinley Park from October 8th through October 14th.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, Trustee Sullivan. Fire Prevention Week is to be held in the Village of Tinley Park beginning October 8th, 2023. All citizens are encouraged to do their share to provide a safe place in which to live and work by eliminating those fire hazards which cause the loss of life, property, and resources. Fire Prevention Week is always scheduled to coincide with the anniversary of the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. This resolution is eligible for adoption.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll read the resolution after we vote.
Okay. Mr. Klotz or Lorendo, anything you'd like to add to that? Madam Clerk, go ahead, Steve.
No, I just, Fire Prevention Week is what this is for, but every day is fire prevention, 365 days a year. Recently in Tinley Park, this year, we had 2 structure fires that both ended up with occupants getting out of the building safely because their smoke detector activated. So again, there's a very importance of daily, not just this time, but daily of checking your home for fire safety and making sure that your smoke detectors are working.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Roll call for item 4, Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
The motion carries. Mr. Brennan.
All right, a resolution establishing the Fire Prevention Week for 2023 in the Village of Tinley Park. Whereas it is the mission of the Tinley Park Fire Department to prevent loss of life and minimize property damage from the perils of fire through education, engineering, and enforcement. And whereas with the introduction of new construction and redevelopment to meet the needs of the community, it is imperative that all public safety agencies partner together to prevent fires. And whereas the Village of Tinley Park continues to be a community for all ages and backgrounds that embraces fire education to minimize injury, loss of life, and property damage from the perils of fire. And whereas the Tinley Park Fire Department recognizes the challenge to meet the fire safety needs of changing demographic and more diverse community, and whereas Tinley Park's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and education. And whereas all professional members of the fire service and other public safety agencies shall coordinate their efforts to provide coalitions to ensure a successful reduction from the risk of fire. And whereas on October 8th through October 10th, 1871, the Great Chicago Fire consumed the city of Chicago, where over 300 people died, and 17,500 buildings were destroyed. This fire began discussion which resulted in what we know today as fire prevention. And whereas the 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme, Cooking Safety Starts With You, reminds us that today's homes burn faster. The ability to get out of a home during a fire depends on early warning from smoke, alarms, and advanced planning. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the President, Clerk, and Board of Trustees of the Village of Tinley Park, Illinois, Cook, and Will County, on behalf of over 55,000 citizens herein represented, that beginning October 8th, 2023, be designated as Fire Prevention Week in the Village of Tinley Park, and urge all citizens to join with the coordinated effort of the Tinley Park Fire Department to provide the effective educational and related fire prevention programs. Adopted this third day of October 2023. Signed by the entire village board.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep. Chief? Resolution?
Next, we have item number 5. You can come back to the United States, Jim. Received presentation in the Tinley Park Business Spotlight from Bang & Gavl from President Glatz Clerk O'Connor. Bang & Gavl is located in the Vote House at 174th and Oak Park Avenue. Serves memorable experiences to those who share their passion for high quality, microbrewed craft beer. Please join us in welcoming Jim Rickert, from President of Bang & Gavl Brews.
Thank you. Mr. President, once again, thank you for inviting us to attend this evening. And to change things up a bit, since I have to imagine all of you are kind of tired of looking at my mug these past 6 years, I thought I'd pass the baton tonight and let our Director of Marketing fill you in on our latest developments. So I'd like to introduce our Director of Marketing, Rebecca O'Connor.
Thanks, Jim, and again, thank you for having us. We at Bang & Gavl Brews are excited to be able to welcome you to come in for a sneak peek as we continue our sneak peek season, we're calling it, as we add new offerings to this week's menu, as well as craft cocktails that are being introduced over the next few weeks. We are moving into the colder months, colder weather, so we aren't just a beer garden anymore, so we're excited to be able to move our local musicians inside to the tap room, including this weekend with the cold weather coming. So we're excited to still be able to offer the live music as we're dedicated to in this, in our town of Tinley Park. We are currently open Wednesday and Thursdays, 5 to 10 p.m., Fridays, 5 to 11, Saturdays, 11 to 11, and Sundays, 11 to 8. We're closed Mondays and Tuesdays. So come in tomorrow during the Tinley Park Ale Trail. If you haven't participated yet, we'll be open for that. It's a fun time for all. And there's multiple locations, if you aren't aware, part of the loop. That's on the website. Also, on Thursday, we'll have the Bears game playing in the tap room, as well as college and pro football Saturday and Sunday. Along with Friday night and Saturday night, we'll have live music in the tap room. We're also adding trivia nights starting next Thursday, which will be hosted once a month inside. And as the last thing I know, everyone's wondering, when are we going to have our grand opening? We're working on it. We'll have that announced in the next month or so. We have mechanical engineers working tirelessly with our brewer to fine-tune our brew system as we prepare for production on site. All right? It's a mouthful, but we're very excited to be here.
So for some of you, for some of you that don't know the history with poor Jim, this has been a struggle for him, dealing with the state, with it being, a historical building. The village staff, the board, the residents have always been very supportive of Jim. Thankful that you were able to stick it out. Hopefully it was worth it now that you got through all the red tape of the historical building.
Fortunately, I was not alone. I've had a very good team with me every step of the way, including Becky and Kyle and my brother and the staff and the board, this board, previous boards, and probably boards down the road to come. The village has been very supportive, and, you know, we couldn't have done it without all of your help, and we appreciate that.
That's our pleasure. Anyone else?
Congratulations that you finally achieved it, okay? You kept
Thank you so
through it,
much.
and that was great.
Anyone else?
I would just say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut someone off over there.
Go ahead, Ken.
I was in there on your first sneak peek night. I snuck in there, and looking forward to come in there quite often. I was very impressed. It just feels really nice in there. I mean, I can't even describe how just the feel of it when you walk in. It feels solid. It looks historic, obviously. I recall from my time on the Plan Commission seeing this through quite a bit. So I've been excited about this right from the start, and I'm really happy for you guys to be at this point now. Looking forward to everything else you have coming down.
To that point, Becky probably won't, you know, blow her own horn, but she was pretty much the whole thing when it came to the look and the feel and the design of the inside of the building. She, from the colors to what you see on the walls to the furnishings, everything, Becky pretty much did it all.
It's very impressive.
She deserves a lot of credit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the outside and what intricate detail you've had in the restoration of it, you'd almost expect to walk in and find something new and modern and all that. It just matches.
Yeah, it was,
I highly recommend everyone get out there and see it for themselves.
Yeah, I have to say, you know, in this whole experience, you know, we had different visions along the way of what it was going to look like, but because we had this historic, you know, situation and, you know, hurdles that we had to go through and things we had to keep, and, you know, it ended up being a blessing in disguise. And we had, you know, we did a lot of research. We embraced it. You know, we just went all in on it. So I'm very proud. So.
Absolutely, great.
Actually, our first mortgage we closed in there in May of 1994.
I was gonna say, my real estate attorney was in there on the first floor.
Yep.
Well, same guy, yeah.
1994.
Yeah. Yeah. I look
Anyone-
forward to seeing it.
Anyone else on the board?
Congrats, you look a little less stressed. I mean, now the fun begins, right? So,
You lived like a
Or you
king.
got really good at-
You lived like a king for the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks.
Oh, literally, actually.
I know. Thank you, Jim. Congratulations to you and your team. Next, we have item number 6. I would like to ask the board for a motion to consider the appointment of Victoria Sederrook to the position of police records supervisor.
so moved?
Second?
Vicki joined Tinley Park Police Department 18 years ago and currently oversees the daily functions of the Police Records Division as the Assistant Police Records Supervisor. With the evolving police records management demands, increased complexity of position duties, and her commitment to the overall effectiveness and efficiency of the Police Records Division, Vicki is recommended for promotion to the full-time position of the Police Records Supervisor. So please consider appointing Victoria to the position of Police Records Supervisor effective October 4th, 2003. Victoria, you want to say something?
So I just want to say thank you to the village, to the board, to everybody that believed in me, especially my team at the police department. I have the most amazing team from the very top to the very bottom. And without them, I couldn't be as successful as I have been. So thank you.
That's great. It's up to you. If you'd like to take a picture with you and your team, we'll step aside and you could.
Sure, come on, team. Come on, team.
I think Pooch and Larry, that's you too.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Dennis.
You can just stay there, Paul. You can just stay there, just two more.
You doing our photo?
No, there's a couple more if you want to just.
I'm old and I did it.
Stand in that corner.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 6, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
The motion carries. Dan didn't have time to go to the store. Item number 7, I'd like to ask the board for a motion to consider the appointment of Laura Laird to the position of senior payroll specialist.
So moved.
No, second.
Thank you. Laura is a financial professional with over 10 years of payroll experience in both the private sector and in the educational field. She has taken on various challenges focused on improving workplace efficiency, implementing new procedures, and leading the implementation of a financial software payroll system conversion. Laura holds a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration and Economics. I'd like to ask the board to please consider appointing Laura Laird to the position of Senior Payroll Specialist effective November 1st, 2023. Anyone from the board have any questions? No. Laura, is there anything you'd like to say?
Hi, I would just like to thank Mayor Glatz and the Board of Trustees and the Village Finance Team for this opportunity. I was born and raised in Tinley Park, and now I'm raising my family with 4 kids here as well. Tinley Park is a great place to live, and I've heard it's a great place to work at, and I'm excited for this new opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Laura, would you like to take a picture up front with your family? Come on, Billy.
Right, ready? Got it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next, we have item number 8. I'm sorry. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Roll call for item 7, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have item 8, unless you guys want to save that for last. I'd like to ask the board for a motion to consider the appointment of Tom Tilton as interim police chief.
So moved.
Second.
Due to the resignation of Police Chief Matt Walsh effective September 30, 2023, it is recommended that Tom Tilton be appointed interim police chief until a permanent police chief is appointed. Please consider appointing Tom Tilton to the position of interim police chief effective October 3rd, 2023. Any comment from the board?
I'm just looking forward to what Tom brings to the table. He's done a fantastic job with all of our events, and he's been a pleasure to work with in his capacity as deputy chief. So really appreciate all your hard work and looking forward to what we accomplish here in the future.
Chief, anything you'd like to add?
If you don't mind.
Mayor and members of the board, I really appreciate the opportunity to lead our police department. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to work with Deputy Chief Rafferty and Commander Poulos. We've got a very, very fine roster of police officers and police supervisors, and I very much look forward to moving ahead with them. And I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank everyone for the appointment of Vicki Sedoruk. She's a tremendous person, and as well as all of our team here in the Records Division and the Police Department as a whole. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Chief, you want to take a photo with your team?
Sure, why not? Post exercise.
We got a wide range.
All right, ready? Thank you very much.
Hey, nobody? Yeah. Huh? Oh.
Sport coach.
Oh, it's supposed to be in this order.
All right. Ready? Ready? Got it. Thank you very much.
Don't play it back.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing something else. It's fine. Madam Clerk, you call the roll?
Roll call for item 8, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
You're official.
Next, we have item 9. I'd like to ask the board for a motion to consider approval of the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Consent agenda items have been publicly posted and available for review on the agenda for this meeting. Would anyone from the board like any of these items removed from the consent agenda? Let the record reflect there are none. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 9, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item number 10. Trustee Bill Brady.
Yes, thank you. I want to consider adopting ordinance 2023-0-060, approving a real estate purchase contract for the property located at 17116 Oak Park Avenue.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bill.
This item was discussed at the committee of the whole prior to this meeting. This ordinance is eligible for adoption.
Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Roll call for item 10, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item number 11. Trustee Bill Brady.
Yes, I'd like to have the board consider adopting Resolution 2023-R-127, approving an agreement for the post-closing occupancy of property located at 17116 Oak Park Avenue.
Thank you. Trustee Brady, any questions from the board? Any questions or comments, I should say, from the public?
I think we need a motion and a second.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Is there a motion?
So moved. I'll second it.
Thanks, go ahead. Is there any comment from the public? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for item 11, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item number 12, trustee Dennis Mahoney.
Thank you. I move we consider adopting ordinance 2023-0-059, approving the purchase of real property from the South Suburban Land Bank and Development Authority, 7050 through 7068 171st Street.
I'll second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dennis.
Thanks. The proposed resolution will allow the village to purchase the property located at 7050 through 7068 171st Street. This item was discussed at the October 3rd, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting. This ordinance is eligible for adoption.
Thank you, Dennis. Any comments from the board?
I just wanted to reiterate the comments I made at the Committee of the Whole about the land bank process itself. I think it's a really good program, and acquiring this property and moving it to redevelopment is definitely a very positive step forward. So I'm very much in favor of this, and again, I believe that this particular transaction worked out very much in the village's favor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll just say, for the last 5 years, we've been trying to make this site safe, and it's been a struggle. So thanks, Dan, for your continued hard work to make this happen, and echo all of the comments that Trustee Shaw made. This land bank has really helped us out a lot, especially in this instance.
Thank you, Mike. I'd just like to add, there has been a couple people that, on social media, that want to make this seem like a bad thing. It's not, and this property has been dilapidated. It's the old sports station. It's been dilapidated and unsafe and empty for a very long time. I especially want to thank Dan Ritter for working so hard through the land bank for us to get it for the price that we did. Originally, the land bank, after they obtained it through back taxes, was going to market it for $275,000. If they did repairs, they were going to market this and sell it for $375,000. Dan Ritter, our community development director, negotiated them down to $99,900 to take that old dilapidated building so that we can knock it down and redevelop it. So, Dan, I mean, it's almost $200,000 less, 100 and whatever, 80, than what they were originally going to market it for. So great job. Thank you very much. And that building needs to be redeveloped, so great job. And
I'll just think the land bank's been great to work with. So once, they're typically in the method of obtaining properties, marketing them, flipping them. In this case, with the public safety issues, and I've worked with our building official and the fire department, even the trucks that are parked out there regularly cause concerns. So in order to get this resolved, I think this is the best course of action going forward to get this resolved as quickly as possible. So small price to pay, I think, to get what I think we could say is probably the worst property in Tinley to get it taken care of. So.
Good job.
Thank you, Dan. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 12, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Now we get to the hot item that everyone's here for. Item number 13. Trustee Dennis Mahoney, will you please take it from here?
Thank you. I move we consider ordinance 2023-0-054, granting variation approvals for an accessory structure at 9306 Walnut Lane.
Is there a motion? Or a second, I mean?
I'll second that.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Thanks. The petitioner requests variations to Section 3 of the zoning ordinance to increase the maximum size and width for an accessory structure and to install a gas line to that structure at 9306 Walnut Lane in the R2 Single Family Residential Zoning District. The Plan Commission held a public hearing on September 21st of 2023 and voted 0 to 5, recommending denial of the requested variations in accordance with the listed plans and findings of fact in the staff report. This ordinance is eligible for first reading.
Thank you, Dennis. One thing, what I would like to add first, before I turn it over to Dan, is everyone on this board has watched the Plan Commission. We're well aware of what's happened at this property location. This is eligible for first reading, so there's no public comment on this agenda item for anyone that likes to speak. But if you can wait after we vote, 10 items later is public comment at item 23, where then you could say what you'd like to say. But if it passes tonight, it will go to a second reading at the next meeting, and then you could speak before we vote. But on a first reading, there's no action to take other than deny it. If it's approved, it's not approved tonight, it just moves forward to the next meeting 2 weeks later, and then that's where all the open discussion and dialogue is. Otherwise, just 10 items later, then you can say what you want. So even if it passes, it doesn't officially pass, it's got to go through a second reading. Hopefully that makes sense. Dan, I've asked you to give a good presentation for the board and the public to give the, I guess we should say, the chain of events here that happened with this property.
Yeah, and I won't rehash anything really from the overall meeting. I will just note the petitioner did call us to let us know he was in Cleveland and wasn't going to make it today, so I don't believe he's here. And I did just want to mention a few specifically incorrect points that were made in the public hearing that I guess we do have evidence of. Particularly, one, I'll just note the stop work order was issued on August 16th for this project, once we were notified of the structure going up. In the packets and the staff report, you'd see it was basically the frame of the structure at that point when we had done the stop work order. The discussion with the petitioner actually happened that day, and the variation application was actually received that day, signed from the petitioner. So when it was kind of noted that there was some communication issues, there obviously wasn't enough for us to not receive that variation application, and them understand that they had to do that. So I just wanted to point that out. Also wanted to point out that work beyond the stop work order was noted as that hearing is stopping a few days afterward. Between our staff and photos and videos that we have, there was pictures and work that happened on September 7th, September 12th, September 17th, so multiple times between the 17th and then September 17th and even kind of up to the public hearing. So some of that was on the structure, some of it's on the patio, and kind of beyond the structure itself, there's obviously work that's happened out there that's beyond what this variation itself is on, but just to note that there is water, electric, and then even in the public hearing, it basically came up in the public hearing that there was sewer work or tie-in with the sewers that had happened. So a lot of that is not to building codes, and that we still don't have any permits for, kind of pending, I think, how this goes. Some of it he may be able to keep, some of it almost all of it he's gonna have to change in some way. But there was a lot of other work that happened out there kind of beyond permits that were obtained. So not purely related to the structure, but even with the patio work, there's a lot of work that happened out there after the stop work order. Lastly, I'll just note, it remains unapproved today, and it's not even constructed according to the plans that were submitted after the stop work order was obtained. So no permit has been issued still for that structure itself, but it's not even constructed to those plans. So our building official is gonna go out there and make sure it's safe for the time being. And he's been out there to take a look at it. But I just want to note that it remains, basically all the work that's out there today remains unapproved and happened kind of after that stop work order. So I just wanted to point that out because it came up in the public hearing, just to note that there was pretty significant work that happened there, that we do have pictures and evidence of. So I'll answer any other questions if you guys have it, but just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I would just like to add that, like when I built my shed, the ordinance is 200 square feet. I built it at 192 square feet. The height, I built it within 2 inches of the maximum height that you're allowed in the village. The rules are put in place for a reason, right? Staff's done a lot of hard work over the years to make sure that the village looks a certain way. And ignoring stop work orders for a month and continue to work, it's not acceptable. They built this 1,200 square feet. The maximum is allowed is 400 square feet. They actually put in a sink, which I believe that they illegally hooked up to the storm sewer. That's supposed to be hooked up to the sanitary sewer, which they did not. No permits. They put electric in. They put gas, also that they're not allowed to do. I would ask the board that they vote in a negative on this tonight. Anyone else from the board have any comments? Trustee Shaw?
Yes, so I won't bother going over some of the other items that have been covered here, except to say that I fully agree. What I would say is I did read the entire staff report. I watched the entire Plan Commission meeting, visited and did some other research on my own. Having spent 6+, almost 7 years on the Plan Commission, I have seen quite a few variation requests, and I've seen a lot of people come before the Plan Commission and subsequently to the board. Some of them have been recommended for approval. Some of them have been approved. Some have been denied. This is the most egregious example that I have ever seen at all. And it goes beyond just the structure itself and the approach taken to it. Ignoring a stop work order is very serious. Whether it's an approved project or not, ignoring a stop work order, for anybody who works in construction or has ever had construction work done, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, ignoring a stop work order. They're not issued lightly, and they shouldn't be taken lightly. Having been a vocal opponent of some of the variances that have been approved by previous boards before I got up here, what I found that is quite often people either don't know or they know about the variance process and the permitting process and they just, do it anyway. And then when they get caught and then they're told they have to go through the variance process, they don't even give the Plan Commission something they can hang their hat on. The standards are pretty clear that there has to be a hardship for the variance. There has to be something that is not of the making of the homeowner, of the property owner. And quite often, the rationale that's been provided is simply, I want it. I want what I want. And that doesn't sit well because I've looked at the structure myself and man, it's impressive. I wish I had that. But it doesn't meet code. It doesn't meet code. And the rationale provided for it is I want what I want. And so I'm in complete agreement that this is something that cannot sit. And being such an egregious example here, I think it's an easy decision for the board, and I think it has to be set because some cases are on the margin, and it's a judgment call. This one, I don't think it is. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else from the board care to come? Go ahead.
Yeah, just so everyone reiterate on the amount of how much they're over. It's 800 square feet over the maximum floor area. So this isn't something that, it's like we accidentally went over, 50 square feet or 100 square feet, and then they're over 6 feet over the maximum width. So this is this just seems intentional to me, and, I don't know, this is great if you have a yard, they're backed up to the woods or something, but I don't know how the neighbors would feel about something like this, and tying into the sewer system. I don't know if that would mess with any kind of drainage, the structure itself with the surrounding homes that are there. I just thought, think that there should have been a little bit more consideration to the rules here. And the stop work order and then the continuing, I'm just, don't think that's I'm against this as well, so.
And I will just note, any of the, like the sewer, the gas lines, the electric work, the stuff that doesn't meet code has to be resolved regardless of a decision here today. And regardless of if the patio can stay and what they can keep, they have a lot of work out there that, like, you can't tie a sink into the storm sewer system. So that'll have to get resolved either way.
Trustee Mueller.
Yeah, just elaborating a little bit. So I did a little research on the GIS system and measured the backyard, and it's somewhere around 3,800 square feet, and this structure is about 1,200. So it's about a third of the yard, which is what I think is pretty egregious here. I think we can go larger if the yard permits it, like Trustee Sullivan was saying, but this is not one of those instances. So there was just two comments that I wanted to address. During the meeting, one of the residents said that this board is a board that will allow for forgiveness if the structure is already built. I can tell you that that's not the case at all. If we got a 50 square foot off thing, like Trustee Sullivan was saying, yes, we can be a little lenient, but in no instances would we allow someone to build it first and then get approval. That's just not the way good village government works. The second thing is I really have a problem with the hardship and difficulties that were listed on the application. It says structure has already been built, which is just not a hardship that would require a variance by any means. So like the rest of what I've heard from comments, I will not be supporting this.
Anybody else?
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Brady.
agreeing with my fellow trustees, this is just a completely disregard for the procedure, the permit application, just everything, just completely ignoring the rules, regulations, and codes of our fine village. That alone upsets me, especially to the degree that he had done this. So I certainly would be voting no as well.
Thank you.
I'll just add that, kind of echo what Colleen said. I mean, this is 1,200 square feet. We're talking larger than some houses in Tinley Park, and it's 200% bigger than our code allows. So, again, this isn't a 50 square foot one-off situation where, when it's 200% bigger than what our code allows. I think this is pretty common sense here. So, thank you.
And I thought my 200 square foot shed was big. Dennis?
I wonder if he'll let me live in it after he's done with it. It's bigger than my house, so I don't see myself being in support of this.
So the other thing I would like to add to Dan, I don't think we should stop at, it seems like the vote is gonna go a certain way. I don't even think we should stop there. I really struggle, especially being in construction, seeing, even if you made them take down the structure and they left that whole patio. I don't want to say names, but I asked Mike Coleman to go out to your house and get those videos. Thank you very much. You know who I'm talking to. Thank you that it gave the board a chance to see really what is happening with all this water. All that water from the entire structure is split in half. It comes off one side and it comes off the other side. That's not how water is supposed to drain. Water is supposed to just go out over your yard, especially when it's got a slight pitch. It's not that pitched. I also would like to have engineering look at that from where that structure is, not the other part of the patio, but I guess the pole barn. I don't even feel comfortable for the neighbors with drainage having that additional structure. The patio, the original patio with nothing on it, looks great. It's beautiful, great workmanship. may want to find the guy to do work at my house. But as far as the drainage as well for the residents, we have to guarantee that this is not going to be, all the water is going to be sitting, because if the neighbors around them have wood fences, all their posts are going to start rotting. And if you let it go 2, 3 years, couple winters, when it's 35, 36 degrees and you get a rain, it's going to freeze, they're going to start heaving, they're going to start cracking, and then they're going to be fighting with their neighbors to replace their fence, and it'll be on them. I think this whole structure needs to be, in my opinion, obviously get a structural, get an engineer's opinion on that. I think that whole thing needs to be ordered down immediately before the winter comes, because there's nowhere to water for it to go except on the side, and it's just massive. The other thing I would, to finish with, so the board knows, so if the petitioner's not here, if anyone would like to give him an opportunity to come and speak, then you would pass it tonight. And then it would go on the October 17th board meeting again for him to have an opportunity to speak. But to be quite honest, I'd be shocked if there's one single word or reason he could give on why anyone on this board would approve it. So I would ask for everyone to vote in the negative tonight, so staff can get direction from the village attorney, next steps and what they're going to do, and then the residents know that this is something that is gonna be addressed now. I mean, I wouldn't wanna be waiting 2 weeks, to see what's gonna happen, especially with the winter coming. I would prefer we give them some peace now, everyone votes, and not worry about the 17th that he's not here.
Mr. Mayor, if I could comment on that?
Yes, sir.
As I said earlier in my comments, I find this to be the most egregious example that I've ever seen or heard of. I don't know procedurally what it would take. We have a matter before us here tonight. I would agree. I could not foresee anything. I mean, I watched the whole Plan Commission meeting. I heard it all. I could not see any extenuating circumstances or any rationale that would possibly bring me to support this.
Okay.
So, and on that note, whatever it takes to demonstrate a firm stance here in terms of demolition, I'm in favor of that. So whatever that would take procedurally, I would be in favor of that.
Thanks, and I think this is a perfect example to set the example on this, just should not be allowed. Anywho, if no one else has anything else, I would like to have the clerk call the roll. Everyone okay?
I just want to add one more thing, just
Sure,
to,
go ahead.
so, just so people understand that we're, he did have an opportunity already, or he or she, I'm not sure who the petitioner is, I forget the name, but there was an opportunity to explain the request for a variation in the example, as Mike Mueller said, the structure was already built. So he has had an opportunity already to address this. So it's not like we're not giving him that opportunity. He also had the opportunity to be here. It's been on the agenda. The agenda's been posted since last week, so.
There was a full public hearing that probably most of these people went to.
Right, so.
Full public hearing, published. He had a say, evidence given.
Yeah. I just wanted to
And that's
kind of
what-
know that we're not just saying, well, you're not here, too bad, because there have been opportunities for him to plead his case, and with his application for the variance. It's pretty clear right here that it was just like, well, it's already done, and that's why I want it, so it doesn't work that way. And I feel for the neighbors. I wouldn't want that next door to me. I wouldn't want water. It looks like it's a little bit elevated. I can't tell, but it looks like the water, the videos that we saw, kind of running, just rushing down, and I don't know, it just looks like it's creating a little havoc in that area over there, so yeah.
Okay. If everyone is done, it's like to do a yea and nay vote. All yeas? All nays?
Nay.
Nay.
Nays have it, 6-0. So thank you. So that'll fail at the board meeting. There won't be a second reading on this. And so I would suggest you just keep in close contact with staff, with Dan Ritter, and he could keep you informed on next steps to, as they move forward. Dan, do you want to?
we'll be in contact with the petitioner specifically to note anything with the structure that's got to happen, as well as any of the other work that was done without permit. So we'll be in contact with him here in the next couple days to basically set this up to get removed and get everything to code as quickly as possible. And hopefully that will happen.
Right, and what I would suggest too, for this to move along easily for you guys, so he's not trying to answer a whole bunch of different emails, seems like you guys are all together. If you could try and have 1 or 2 point, contacted to relay the information to the group, and then Dan can get back to you instead of trying to, with all the other duties, trying to answer, 15, 20 different emails. That would be great.
And I think some people have been in contact with our planning manager, Jason, already, and he'll be up to date on what's happening. So if you have his contact information, can't promise everything's going to happen immediately, but we'll get working on it.
Thank you. You're welcome. So item 13 fails. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks for coming out.
You're welcome.
I want to make sure I understood. There is no need to attend another.
It's done.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Have a great night. Unless you want to come to a meeting, you can still come.
Always welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item number 14. Trustee Dennis Mahoney.
Thank you. I move we consider adopting ordinance 2023-0-055, approving the establishment of a real estate transfer stamp program in the village of Tinley Park.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dennis.
Thank you. The proposed resolution will authorize the establishment of a real estate transfer stamp program within the village of Tinley Park, which will assist in the regulation of all property transfers in the village. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting held on September 19th of 2023. This ordinance is eligible for adoption.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on that? Ken, you and I had a conversation on it. You want to lead?
Sure. I just have some comments on this. This is a tough one. As we discussed, and I've had some discussions with the mayor and 1 or 2 other trustees, in general, I support the concept of a transfer stamp. I had some concerns about this one, specifically about how we're looking to structure it and operationalize it. And I appreciate the efforts that have gone into adjusting it. Unfortunately for me, I just don't think it's quite where it needs to be. And I can go into some detail on that. In particular, I don't think that the fee, whatever is assessed, I don't think it should be tied. I think it should be tied to whatever the administrative load is that's associated with the work. I have a problem with it being associated or tied to the value of a property. I don't think that it's a proper connection, one for the other. The rationale that we're using to support this is not based on the value of the property, it's based on the administrative load. So I have concerns about that, although I do appreciate that, that it is proposed to be capped at $200. I still think that it's not appropriate. And just in general, I think that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on this. So unfortunately, I don't feel that I can support it this evening. I do think that with some rework, it could still be a viable option for the community if we focus on certain other aspects. And I won't go into them, but the case that we just had before us here, that was so egregious, it was obvious. But there have been many, many other examples where people have built things or done things that are not to code, and they didn't get caught. And then the new owner, suddenly, we've talked about this at the committee the whole last time, first experience that they're having with the village is they're in trouble for something, whether it's, an overdue water bill or a non-conforming structure or something like that. And they bought it in good faith, and the previous owner put them in that position. So I think there is some value, especially for businesses, where somebody buys a business and is not aware that there's a special use permit required for that business, and suddenly, they're stuck. So personally, I think that there is some value in this concept as currently put before us, though I can't support it. I do want to acknowledge and recognize that the intent here of bringing it so early, this was not intended to go operational until into 2025 when the new ERP system goes into play. So it's pretty early to put it in place. It wouldn't go into effect for a long time, but I recognize that the intent was to make the decision so that as they're doing design of the new system, they could incorporate the process in there. I recognize that in a perfect world, that would be the best approach. But realistically, if we had an operational ERP system and it was in place and operating, and then we decided to do this, we'd have to come up with how we're gonna do it anyway. So that's not a huge hurdle in my mind. So for all that, I just wanted to explain that while I, in concept, support the transfer stamp as envisioned here, I can't.
So, Dan, is there something that we're missing? Is there a reason we have to do it now instead of waiting?
The issue will be, we'll need a custom, and I don't know if Anthony's here. We'll have to custom build an entire portion of that software to deal with our current process, because our current process doesn't exist anywhere besides Tinley Park, because it doesn't really work very well. Again, it gets caught on the back end with the purchasers having to deal with money owed, violations, everything else. So transfer stamps and this process is already built in. It comes out of the box from, I believe, BSNA, even all the other ones that were options, Tyler, those community development softwares and ERP systems, comes out of the box ready to go. So we basically have to spend money to custom build to our current.
There he is.
Oh, sorry, you must have been listening. So let me know if I was wrong about.
I watch back on YouTube in my office while I'm doing things. So I heard, I think, most of what he said, which is, yes, if we can get the structure set in place before any of the configuration happens with the ERP, that's just going to allow us to do the project instead of, we're gonna sign up. The BSNA, which is who we're with, is going to ask what that configuration needs to look like. That's what's then going to allow them to do the configuration. So while it may not go into effect until the software goes live, we're definitely going to need some direction as to what that needs to look like to pass that information along to the vendor.
And I think part of the goal is to make our processes a little simpler, and our current process is really messy, so we'd be building a software to basically continue our current messy process, rather than do something that a transfer stamp has a trigger that it is enforced even beyond us and is kind of well-known, where our current process is not well-known and can't be enforced upon sales because there's nothing there for the county recorders to latch onto. So I think it's to make it a little smoother going forward, and also not do double the work on the ERP and community development softwares.
This is more of an Anthony and a Mike Mueller. I refer to Mike when it comes with software. Isn't this something they could build it and just leave it as a zero and work out the kinks later?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think what we should probably decide as a board is if we want to get something much closer to this, and then discuss the fee structure separately, because I think procedurally we'll all agree that what we have in place right now is just not working and is an administrative load and is not recognized by some of the systems that we have to work with. And so I'm hearing that what we've proposed here is a lot closer, but we want to work on that fee structure. And I don't know if that means bring it down to zero for our residents or what that is, but I think we should separate those two issues.
Well, with the village manager and conversations we've had, what he suggested that we could do because of the building of this and the infrastructure is make it no fee.
Yeah.
But still pass the transfer stamp, right? And then if something has to change, try and tweak it then.
With
But
that
if
system.
now, push it through, but have it as a 0, so you still have the stamp, is what like Pat was saying, you could still have the stamp.
Yep.
And it would essentially block from missing all that, correct?
Yep.
Without a
Yep.
fee?
Yeah, and we kind of took a stab out of the cow meeting of like, put a cap on it, so we just kind of came up with 200, and I guess some of that basis was me counting, it's basically 5 departments that all utilize 30 minutes to an hour. It could be even more than that on commercial properties, so we kind of use that as a gauge of like what actual time was going into each one of these.
Yep.
But certainly, we essentially do it now, nothing on the back end, and it's even taking up more of our time to start tracking down and contacting it. So it wouldn't be any change. We were just trying to set a fee that kind of helped outweigh what we were doing. But certainly you could have 0, you could have it 0 for residential and a max 200 for commercial. So any of those are options.
Unless we were hiring a part-timer to do it, it's not actually costing us any money because the employee's already here doing something else. You know, I don't know how many sales we have in a year.
Well,
Can I
just
add something here? After the last meeting, Hannah had mentioned how many FOIAs that come in looking for that information. I had Laura look it up. Since January 1st of 2020, approximately 300 FOIAs have come in asking outstanding liens, water bills, things like that. We took it a little bit further. It gets assigned out to approximately 4 to 6 people, so 4 to 6 different departments. Takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours total, just to give you that basic information. The administrative amount of work is not that much. However, I know Public Works Department does get a fair amount of calls that they spend more time on as far as outstanding water bills. These are the folks who didn't submit the FOIA, who didn't do their due diligence when buying a home. Just to give you that background info.
Mike, did you want to add to that, or?
No, that's exactly, when we say we're not, the $200 is not lost money, but I think in the FOIAs, we would be collecting that money before they sold their property as well. As I understand it, we try to make as good a impression on the new owner, and so many times we will waive those monies that are owed to the village, and so there's a loss there as well. So even if we make this 0, I think the village is going to be at least making up the lost monies that we have in these circumstances.
Thanks.
Yeah, it'll at least put, in the zeros, something really easy to change. If you wanted to pass it today, you could obviously just make that quick change. And that's correct. I think finance will be pretty happy to be able to stop these sales from going. Some of it's not even our decision. I think we've worked with our attorneys on a lot of these cases. So there's, to be able to see if we can even recoup the money.
Right.
And a lot of them you can't from the new owner unless liens were filed in a certain way at a certain time, and it gets really tricky. So either way, it'll come out on top because we'll be able to recover this before the sales happen. So, yeah.
Trustee Brennan?
No, I'll just say, I just kind of want to add what, Ken was saying earlier, when we roll out this new ERP system, I think that's going to make everything much more efficient too. So that'll recoup some lost monies. I think the amount of money we're talking about at the $200 is negligible. So, I mean, I'd be in favor of a 0 fee as long as, I'm not in favor at 200 because I think, we pay, we have to be respectful to taxpayers, and we have to. We pay a lot in tax money just in general anyway. So I think this is, if we do roll this out, I think, I wouldn't be in favor as it's written right now, like Ken said, but I would be in favor at a $0 amount, just because I think, with this new system, I think we should be able to catch a lot more and recoup a lot of those funds that we may or may not have in the past. So.
Well, I'd just like to clarify, part of my objection as written is the sliding scale based on the sale price, sale price value, whichever it is. And I don't necessarily see that there's a connection, at least it hasn't been shown that there's a connection between the home value and the administrative load that we're facing here. So I just, in my point, that's a big part of what I have an objection to, tying it to home value. Whether it is a $0 or $200 or $50 or whatever it is, I think that it should be a flat fee, whether it's 0 or 50 or whatever it is. I just object to it being tied to home value. I don't think that's appropriate. Second of all, I don't really think I'm understanding what you're saying about the ERP system, and I don't want to extend the village board meeting. But it sounds like you're saying that the transfer stamp process component is an integral part of how the software is designed to work. It's not a feature that can be turned on and off?
It is. I just want to be clear in that, basically, when you engage with the company, they're going to want to know what the configuration is kind of in the front. And you obviously have some sway as the project begins, but you don't want to, after the fact, it would most likely be a professional service engagement potentially to change something as large as that. Now, I don't know exactly how the software is set up, so I don't know if that is something we can do internally, or if we would have to engage the vendor to now change a business process to do a transfer stamp like that, which may be a premium charge at that point. So it's just, you want to know what your variables are up front is really what it comes down to. It's not that you can't do it later. It just may cost an additional fee to do it later, so.
Okay.
And
So
I'm
hopefully
talking
that
with-
made more sense.
In talking with Baycor, it sounded like if we tell the vendor we do transfer stamps, they're gonna know exactly what we're doing and essentially how to configure it, and then.
But if we said we
yeah.
don't do transfer stamps, they'd still know.
Yeah, the
what to
system will
do.
work regardless, yes.
Right, and so I guess my point is that it's kind of like tail wagging the dog. I don't think that we should be passing fees and ordinances based on how software works. The software should work. Now, I'm a big proponent of out of the box, right? We talked about this when we were going through that, the process. I think that the bar for making any customization should be very high, and we should do everything we can to avoid them. This sounds like a configuration decision as opposed to a customization. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that fact. I don't like the idea of the software dictating us passing ordinances. That doesn't sit-
So let's do this, so we're going on and on this.
Well,
Let's just.
that was my point.
I get it.
It's
Let's move
before
on.
us, so we have to make a decision, but I'm not comfortable with it.
Trustee Sullivan?
No, I just wanted to add, if we go to a 0, I'm fine with it. I think it was even mentioned at the last meeting that a good realtor would catch these kind of things. So I don't think we need to put it on somebody who, goes by all the rules, they pay all your water bills, they don't have any liens on their property. And they're paying $200, it's for a what if. And, it might not be a significant amount to someone, but it's a very significant amount to somebody else maybe. And, with closing costs and things like that, I don't want to add anything more of a what if, basically, if in case they don't pay they're not getting it back. So, so I'm fine with moving forward with the implementation of the software for that piece of it, as long as it's at a 0. If we have to revisit, the dollar amount later, but, so I'm in favor of a $0 amount, today.
So let's do this. I would like to ask someone for a motion to table this till the October 17th meeting. If you have any questions, please start contacting Pat Carr immediately before we put this out, and all the things that we would like changed and to discuss, we'll add it then, and let's end this conversation and move on to the next item.
I think that's fair, Mr. Mayor. So I will make the motion to table this agenda item to the October 17th meeting.
Is there a
I will
second?
Wait, who's second? Bill Free?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Anthony. We have item 15, Trustee Mahoney.
Thank you. I move we consider adopting Resolution 2023-R-124, approving a purchase agreement between the Village of Tinley Park and Total Parking Solutions for the purchase of 10 digital parking meters. Caleb Webb Office Central Management Software and Annual Service and Maintenance Services.
Second?
Thank you. Go ahead, Dennis.
Thanks. The proposed resolution will authorize the execution of a contract with Total Parking Solutions for the purchase of 10 electronic parking meters to be placed at the Oak Park Avenue and 80th Avenue train stations. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting held on September 19, 2023. This resolution is eligible for adoption.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Nope, looking
Any-
forward to this.
Any comments from the public? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for item 15, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes,
The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Item 16, trustee Mahoney.
Thank you. I move we consider adopting ordinance 2023-0-057, amending Title 7, Chapter 74 of the Village of Tinley Park Municipal Code regarding parking fees and parking lot designations.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dennis.
Thanks. The proposed ordinance will change the current lot designations at the Oak Park Avenue train station from permit only to day pay. Additionally, the ordinance will increase daily parking rates to $2 per day and offer monthly parking at the rate of no less than $30 a month. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting held on September 19th, 2023. This ordinance is eligible for adoption.
Thank you, Dennis. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for item 16, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
yes,
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 17, trustee Mahoney.
Thank you. I move we consider adopting ordinance 2023-0-058, amending Title 7, Chapter 74 of the Village of Tinley Park Municipal Code regarding private parking lots and police enforcement.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dennis.
Thanks. The proposed ordinance will allow the village to enter into parking agreements with hotels, schools, commercial shopping centers, churches, and homeowners associations for the purpose of enforcing fire lanes, no parking zones, and control of motor vehicle traffic in privately held parking lots. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting held prior to this meeting. This ordinance is eligible for adoption.
Thank you. Anyone from the board have any comments? Anyone from the public? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for item 17, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
yes,
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Item 18, trustee Mueller.
I move we consider adopting ordinance 2023-0-056, amending Title 5, Chapters 50 and 51, along with Table 11 of the Table of Special Ordinances of the Tinley Park Code of Ordinances regarding water and sewer charges. And I was brushed up on my Roman numerals
very
today.
good. Did your homework. Need a.
Second.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Mike.
The village recently completed a utility rate study which recommended adjusting the rates and billing frequency. This ordinance implements and recommends as well as performs needed maintenance of the Code of Ordinance relative to the water and sewer utilities. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole held on September 5th, 2023, and is eligible for adoption tonight.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any comments from the public? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for item 18, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes,
Motion carries. Item 19, trustee Mueller.
I move we consider adopting Resolution 2023-R-125, approving a contract between the Village of Tinley Park and Morton Salt, Inc. for bulk salt purchases.
Second?
Go ahead.
Consider awarding a contract to Morton Salt in the amount of $75.81 per ton. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting held just prior to this meeting and is eligible for adoption tonight.
Any questions from the board? Any comments from the public? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for item 19, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
yes,
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Last one. Item 20, trustee Michael Mueller.
I move we consider adopting Resolution 2023-R-126, approving a contract between the Village of Tinley Park and Beverly Snow and Ice
for parking lot snow removal.
Second.
Go ahead, Mike.
This is the third and final service contract with Beverly Snow and Ice. Please consider awarding a contract to Beverly Snow and Ice in the amount not to exceed $512,590. And this amount will vary or can vary based on the frequency and amount of snow and ice control required. This item was held just prior to this meeting at the committee of the whole meeting and is eligible for adoption tonight.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Comments from the public? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for item 20, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, we have item 21, receive comments from staff. Anyone from the left table? Anyone from the right table?
I can give some good news in terms of permitting, just because I know everybody gets questions. Marriott picked up their permit today to do the Residence Inn Hotel, so we'll have a pre-construction meeting. Mike Coleman will be leading that in the next week or two, and then, so you should see dirt moving out there fairly quickly. Also, Amazon Fresh did submit a permit for that space to do interior work, so it seems like they're moving on that again. So, two things we get questions on pretty regularly. Let you know.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? Next, we'll move on to item number 22, receive comments from the board.
We got one.
Mr. Brennan.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to welcome everyone to join the Tinley Park Fire Department this Saturday, October 7th at Station 46, located in downtown Tinley at 17355 68th Court from 9 to noon for the annual open house. I think you're going to have the touch truck too at, was it the farmer's market too?
Yes.
Yep.
Anything else?
That's it.
Anyone else from the board care to comment?
Yes, I'd like to
Mr. Brady.
compliment the village and yourself, Mr. Mayor. The pumpkin giveaway this past Saturday was so successful, great weather for it. The decorations that were set up at the Union Bar and Grill was just great, and the smiles on the children's faces as they went through our pumpkin patch, or our rendition of our pumpkin patch, was so great. Did we go through all the pumpkins?
We went through everyone except there were some minis left.
Little ones.
The little ones.
All the big ones and the medium ones were all gone.
Great, well, that was a great success.
It was. And you look beautiful in your shirt that day.
My orange shirt, yes.
You're
People
very
thought I was a
bright.
pumpkin, one kid wanted to take me
biggest
home,
pumpkin.
so it's okay.
Anyone else?
I will add something.
Go ahead, Colleen.
I would like to invite our veterans. We're having our all-service breakfast on Saturday, October 14th, and that is at the American Legion, post 615, at 17523 67th Court. Doors open at 8 a.m. The program begins at 8:30 a.m. There's going to be a breakfast served, and we have live entertainment there. And this breakfast is free for military veteran personnel and one guest. Reservations are required, and they could be made by calling Village Hall at 708-444-5000 or in person in the main lobby here at Village Hall. And you can also sign up at the canteen at the American Legion, 615, or the VFW located at 172nd in Oak Park Avenue. So I look forward to enjoying breakfast with our veterans on Saturday, October 14th.
Thank you. Trustee Shaw.
I'll try and keep it brief. I already
I doubt
used
it.
the microphone a lot tonight. All right, well, that's, I usually just, all right. This Thursday, in keeping with the village's music branding, I'd like to say the Andrew High School Choir and the Central Middle School Choir are doing their annual combined concert at the Andrew High School, 7:30. If anybody would like to attend that, it's a good event. It's great to get the schools together and kids of all ages there. And just one other item, I would say I had a really great time at the Bulldogs varsity football game this past weekend, working in the booth. And there were, again, some Andrew students who were there volunteering, working for that. One in particular, I'd like to call him out. Frank Cernak He was doing the booth announcing, and at the very last minute, I heard that they were going to use a recorded version of the national anthem, and I said, no, Frank will sing. And he kind of turned red, but he did it. He stood up and he sang the national anthem. Did a fantastic job, and then he went on to call the game. Did a good job on that. So I want to give a shout out to Frank, who's on the Andrew football team and part of the choir and the musical and all that. So well-rounded kid, good kid.
Next time you don't need a mic, just ask Bill Brady to do it. He's the best. Anyone else? Nope. I had some things I wanted to address. Mine will be probably a little lengthy. I was gone, as some of you know, the other week, and came home to a beautiful campaign mailer, if the cameraman can zoom in on that, from the Tinley Park District. Now we do campaign mailers out of the Park District. And it reads, "There's more to love at Tinley Park District. The Park District shows leadership and will buy the Tinley Park Mental Health Center after years of inaction." So I just wanted to discuss the reason there was a lack of inaction, which is solely due to Bob Rita and Senator Hastings. Can you pull up, zoom in on the TV for the cameraman? Exhibit A. That's F. There you go. So if you look at the screen, it says bill status, House Bill 3011. Description is CMS land transfer to Tinley Park. That was filed in the House by Tim Ozinga on February 18th of 2021. Bob Rita let it die. You look at the bottom, on January 10th of 2023, the same year that he himself and Senator Hastings introduced a bill of Alopecia Awareness Month to transfer the mental health center to his daughter in the Park District Board for $1. Exhibit B. So if you look at the circle in the middle, another bill introduced, House Bill 4951, to transfer the land to the village of Tinley Park. That was introduced on January 25th of 2022. If you look to the left, it died, again, by Bob Rita on, was it April 1st of 2022? Or 8th, whatever it was. It was April of 2022. Authorizes Department of Central Management to convey certain specified property to the village of Tinley Park for economic development and remediation of environmental hazards for no less than the fair market value as determined by an average of 2 appraisals. Provides that the proceeds from the sale shall be deposited in the mental health fund. So not only did the dollar, we'll get to the dollar later, but the proceeds that were in there that were done by the state of Illinois, the $4.5 million, we are legally required to pay $4.5 million. And that came directly out of the mouth of former Deputy Director Dan Hines, when Pat Carr, Dave Niemeyer, I think Village Attorney Paul O'Grady was there as well, and I don't remember who else was there. But either way, you guys met with Dan Hines, and you guys talked about this so-called dollar that Senator Hastings said, we'll get you the property for $1. So Dan Hines said, and I'm not quoting him, but I thought he said that it was something like it was illegal. We can't give you the property for $1. According to the State Surplus Property Act, you have to have the appraisals, and you have to go off of 3 appraisals.
That's correct.
Thank you. And then later they changed it to 2 because they didn't like one of the appraisals. So that was killed in 2022. So we're acting. If you can go to Exhibit C. House Bill 4950 appropriates 15 million or so, therefore as may be necessary, from the Build Illinois Bond Fund to the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for a grant to the Tinley Park Mental Health Center for costs associated with environmental cleanup, effective January 1st, 2022. Introduced and dead, again in the House by Bob Rita, May 9th of 2022. Exhibit D, please. Exhibit D is Illinois House Bill 3979. It was first introduced February 2nd of 2023, the same year that they killed this and then added the Mental Health Center for Alopecia Awareness Month to give Bob Rita's daughter and the rest of the board the property that's worth roughly $60 million cleaned up for about $1. This appropriates $15 million as being necessary from the Build Illinois Fund. That also went nowhere. Exhibit E, bill status of House Bill 3469. And the reason I keep saying House Bill, because these were all introduced in the House, not the Senate. And every time they were killed by Bob Rita. But he goes on camera and says the lack of inaction by the village, he had to get involved and they want this and, he pulled and, the residents of Tinley Park don't want a racino or a casino in Tinley Park. They've spoken. They don't want what the board wants. Well, he forgets to mention that Bob Rita and Senator Hastings are the one that introduced to amend the bill that added the racino or casino or the racino to Orland Township and I believe Rich Township. We're working on something. We have a big piece put together on that, and I don't think they'll be happy. It's going to show and expose a lot of things that were done. We're working on that now, but this bill, House Bill 3469, was filed on February 17th of 2013. I'm sorry, 23, thank you, clerk. And this is where they changed, if you read it, now it's down to 2 appraisals. 3 appraisals was too much for them because there was one in there that was throwing their numbers off. It didn't work for them. And so then, March 10th, 2023, it went nowhere. They just killed it again. Exhibit F. Sorry, that was that one you minimized. I think you minimized it. The last bill they have is House Bill 3743, Exhibit F. Sponsors, Bob Rita, Senator Hastings. This was the alopecia, oh, sorry, I didn't yellow highlight it. Above House sponsor, it's the Alopecia Awareness Month. After they just killed Representative Ozinga's bill. So if you go to the next page, this is where they start doing their little, playing their games. On March 29th of 2023, all of a sudden, Michael Hastings becomes the chief Senate sponsor of an alopecia bill from the House. Then you look at the bottom, Senator Hastings on March 18th, they filed amendment number 2, Senator Hastings. May 18th. Next page. Then here comes Dad, Bob Rita on May 19th. He has nothing to do with this bill. Bob Rita now becomes chief sponsor, changed to. He was never a part of this bill for the Mental Health Center for the $60 million now that they have for $1. On May 19th, chief sponsor was changed to Representative Robert Bob Rita. And then on the 19th again, Senate floor amendment number 2 was passed, filed and concurred by Hastings, or I'm sorry, by Bob Rita. And then the last page, on May 25th, Senate floor amendment number 2, House concurs. May 25th, the House concurs. May 27th, passes both houses. June 22nd, sent to the governor. Governor approves on August 11th, and here we sit, and still nothing is being done or will be done. Next is Exhibit F. That's the one with Swanson. There you go. I marked it on mine, not in here, sorry. So what this is an engagement letter between Bert Olson and Swanson, Martin, and Bell. I don't know how the Park District operates, but I do know how this village board and the Village of Tinley Park works. Paul O'Grady and any other attorney that works for the village is not allowed to go negotiate contracts with people. He doesn't have the authority to do it. Pat Carr doesn't have the authority to sign any engagement letter of anything over $20,000. Correct, Pat? Correct. Anything over $20,000 has to be approved by the Board of Trustees. Correct? So this is an agreement that Bert Olson is making with, go to the next page, could you please? If you look at the top, sorry I didn't yellow highlight it, the first line, billing rate for Swanson, Martin, and Bell now, another attorney they hired, is $365 an hour now. There's no one in the Village of Tinley Park or Orland Park that gets $365 an hour. If you go to the bottom paragraph where they do their little scribbly lines where it starts, well, we will invoice you on a monthly basis for services performed and cost incurred, and request that the invoices be paid within 30 days of receipt. We will send the invoices to the Park District. Wait, hold on. Bert scratched that out, wrote to the right law firm, and at the bottom, the asterisk is for the law firm. So now, as a taxpayer of Tinley Park, you not only will be paying almost double the cost of what attorneys cost of $365 an hour, plus the other attorney they hired, Bert Olson will now be charging the taxpayers of Tinley Park for him to view and approve. I didn't know attorneys can approve for residents their billing, but now they will go through him. So we will not only pay the attorney to do the work, now we will start paying Bert Olson to get paid to review their work along with the work they've done. Again, at the Village of Tinley Park, our attorneys aren't in charge of invoicing. They're not in charge of other people. They don't sign contracts. I don't know why Bert is doing this. And the other part that's up, go to the next page, please. You'll see for title, the president. That's the OM, whatever, the Odelson's law firm, Odelson, whatever. But the problem with this has to be the most transparent, sometimes over-transparent government that I've ever seen in my entire life or worked with. There's nothing that any resident or anyone in the entire United States or country can't look at a board. You could be sitting in Italy right now. You could watch this meeting. You could see every single expenditure. You could see the bids that the village received to whatever it is for the B-Day, the holiday or whatever. You'll see every contract and bid that came in, and you see every single bid. It's all displayed publicly on our website. And not only that, we also televise these meetings. So maybe you can't, maybe you're older, maybe you're sick, maybe you just had surgery, maybe you're watching your grandchild and you're interested. You could still stay home and you could watch the board meeting and you could see what's going on, and then maybe you can get to the next meeting. At the village, the Tinley Park Park District, if you look at the bottom of that page, it says FOIA number 9. They will not disclose one single document of any expenditures that they expend on their website. If you go to the meeting, they hand you one sheet that gives you their agenda item. There's no backups. If you look at the way that our staff writes, our clerk's office is the best. The amount of information that Laura and our clerk's office and the staff provides for residents to see is unbelievable. You go into Park District, Resolution 23-01. You can't get any information. So now they force you to FOIA it because they don't want you to see it. You FOIA and ask for a text message, they deny it. It's an invasion of privacy. I didn't know Sean Roby's text messages were an invasion of privacy, but they are. Can you go back to that? Actually, I don't, yeah, can you go back to the, their little campaign mailer? So this mailer, the years of inaction, the Park District hired a new brochure printer called KK Stevens. They're from Astoria, Illinois. I don't know if anyone ever heard of where Astoria, Illinois is. It just happens to be a little town of, I wrote it down somewhere. I didn't write it on this sheet, but I think it's like 400 people or something. Maybe I'll have to Google. I don't want to be, or is it 892? I think 892 stuck in my head. It's a town of 892 people just off to the west of Springfield, where they're all at. Oh, there it is. 897 people in 2021. I thought our job is to promote our local businesses, our small businesses, and what the Village of Tinley Park does a phenomenal job is creating jobs. We create jobs within the village, and we create jobs by supporting all of our local businesses so they could thrive. And a mom and pop store, you know, they want to hire another person, but they're not making enough money. And then they finally start getting enough business, and then they could put an employee on. They grow, they put another employee on. They go to lunch. They go to Isabella's, or they go to Bang & Gavl. There's no money being spent in our own town. It's going to Astoria, Illinois for political mail now that the Park District hired from a company called KK Stevens. And if you look up in Tinley Park, we have 12 excellent printers in the Village of Tinley Park that could do a great job printing this. If not for the same, maybe a penny or two more. So now we get sales tax on everything they sell. We get a percentage of that. It goes right back into the taxes for our residents and our businesses to pay for our infrastructure and everything else. This money's gone now. Every dollar they spend with KK Stevens, I haven't looked them up yet. I'm sure they're tied to them somehow. But the money they're spending now with their mailers are now in Astoria, Illinois. The other thing that they hired, and again, I had to FOIA it, is they hired, Ashley Rubino and their board hired a PR firm called Boyce Posley, who was the PR firm for the Madigans. Go up and look Boyce Posley and look up their history with the Madigans. This is who they're bringing in. Go in Sunshine, Illinois, and look up their campaign contributions. They're all from former Madigan staffers or employers, PR firms, you name it. Next thing, they hired Kingdom Branding Company. I've never heard of Kingdom Branding. They're the web developers for the Illinois Senate Democrats. You see where all this is going? It's all leading back to Madigan and everything they've said. They keep saying, we want a Racino and this and that. We didn't pass legislation for it. We're not hiring contractors that are from Astoria. We post everything. This is the most transparent village I've ever seen in my life. You can't go on, when they have their board packet put up, you can't see what their attorney fees are. I highly recommend see where your tax dollars are going now. You FOIA Bert Odelson's attorney fees since he took over in October 22. He took over as their attorney in October 22. They're doubling. And now they just hired all these extra attorneys. He's getting paid to review these attorneys, which is appalling because at the press conference, Lisa O'Donovan referred to them as the dynamic duo. If you're a dynamic duo, why are we paying then this other attorney that's not part of the dynamic duo to review their legal fees? Senator Hastings said, it's like getting the #1 draft pick for these two attorneys at $365 an hour. If they're a #1 draft pick, why are they paying an attorney to look at their bills? They call that double billing. That's what they call that. They're just gonna bill and bill and bill. I ask everyone to please start FOIAing their legal bills and see what they're doing with their legal bills. The other part of it with this mailer, if, you know, people probably don't understand, and that's fine, that's our job to explain it. Going to be looking into a complaint on misuse of taxpayer funds. If anyone knows about the boundaries of the Park District, the Park District does not cover Brookside Glen, and it also doesn't cover the Odyssey. All these mailers went to Brookside Glen residents, correct, Mike?
Received one.
So everyone that lives on this side of 183rd that's paying into your tax bill for the Tinley Park District, they're sending political mail for their 25 election campaign with your money to Brookside Glen, who's not even in your taxing district. Oak Forest is part of the, there's a large section of Oak Forest that's part of the Tinley Park District. Not one of those residents received this. So why would a Tinley Park District taxpayer that's paying taxes to this board, to their board, not be receiving information that affects them? This is their taxes. But it's only going to residents that are non-Tinley Park District taxpayers. Brookside Glen, 8,000 people, right, roughly, probably. 8,000 people, roughly, are getting this mailer that don't even pay taxes. And now add the Odyssey. I don't know what the numbers are there. I'm not done looking that up. But I highly recommend you guys start getting involved with your park district. Everything that we've been saying is coming true. And they will not give you anything. They will not show you anything. And you can ask them. And they keep telling you their plans and lack of inaction. There's nothing else that this board, a village attorney and our village manager and our former village manager, Dave Niemeyer, and this board worked their tail off to get that mental health center, going all the way back to when Vandenberg was here in 17, going all the way back when Mayor Zabrocki was here. For over 12 years, they've been trying to get that land, but it's lack of our inaction. Well, it just happens to be a board commissioner's father who stopped it and now gave them the land that's worth about $60 million for $1. So I just wanted to address this because this really bothered me when I got home and saw this, and then I found out that non-taxpayers now are receiving this. Anyone else? Next, we have item number 23, receive comments from the public. Anyone from the public care to comment? Thank you, Joe.
That was really good. You know, you know my history with the Park District. I mean, some of the stuff you're saying, I mean, makes a lot of sense.
The stuff John Kern did to you guys in that subdivision. So I'll call you, we can let's get together and have some coffee, so thank you.
I would like to welcome the new interim chief. God bless you, your force, fire department, those two forces.
Hey, Laura.
Represent the best Tinley has to offer. And I hope that you guys are very safe. God bless both.
Thank you.
I think the,
Joe, if you're gonna speak, would you mind coming up there?
I'll make it short.
Sorry.
I know we've been here a long night.
Yeah, no problem.
I think the transfer stamp, it makes you guys look petty. Probably should just do it. That's just not good. I wanted to say, I wanted to finish my story from the first time, but that's off the table at this point because it's just not gonna happen.
Just so you know, the transfer stamp, it's to protect, like trustee Mueller said it perfect.
I know, but it just.
Let's say you have a family member.
It seems petty.
But
It
if you
really
have a
does.
family member that moves in here, that's why we're talking about a zero fee. So if you have a family member that moves in here and the person before them didn't pay their bills, like sometimes it happens, the new homeowner gets stuck with their bills because they didn't do their due diligence. So a transfer stamp at a 0 fee doesn't allow them to sell the house with getting notification from the village that all their fees have been paid. That's all it's gonna be, and that's why we're
As long as nothing
looking at
comes
that.
out of pocket to the people that are selling the house. I mean, we pay enough in taxes and stuff, you know? And it just seems, I mean, during closing and stuff, that's a stressful situation for anyone. Nobody needs that headache, trouble. And to me, I mean, to me, it sounds petty. I'm just giving my opinion. With the Park District, we've had a history with them. Yeah, the lack of disclosure, you know, they had me stricken from at least 12 meetings. They had me at two, you remember the point where they had me at the 2 meetings, 6 months apart, and they superimposed the paper? And-
Joe, you, me, and Nancy were attached at the hip during all that when they were doing that to you.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, some of the stuff you put together, though, it did make a lot of sense. And as far as what's going on over there, you know, not that, I've seen it too, you know, and there's some underhanded things that have gone, and that's what even got me involved in any of this. Was, you know, going to the meeting, they lied to me a couple times, and before you knew it, I was all in, and that's what even started any of this.
The peat flooding your neighborhood?
They well, with Veterans Park, they intentionally flooded it so that they could change the jurisdiction and give it to the Army Corps of Engineers. And when the Army Corps came out, they looked at it and said, well, we can't change it, it doesn't hold any water. Then they dammed it up, then they brought them back out, and then they gave them half of it in order to not cut the grass. As petty as it seems, I think that was the point. But when all the dust settled, couldn't get anything done politically. So I went out there 2 nights in a row. I made it, well.
Oh, I remember.
You know, Sean Roby, when he came in, I told him, as long as you got that ditch blocked up, you can't play baseball. This is all peat bog. It's going to be wet. I said, maybe I should just go out there and clean the ditch out. He said, well, maybe if you do, we won't call the police. That was a verbal contract. I went out there one night, 4 hours, dug roughly 75 feet. The next night, I had someone come with me because I thought I was going to have a heart attack, and I completed it. After I got to the middle of the park, I dug a 150-foot trench myself. I drained the swamp myself. The next day, the water was gone. All the neighbors with the flooding in the back, all gone in one day. I fixed it with a shovel myself. But the point is, I thought you made some valid points.
It's because you were doing the right thing, and they didn't want that.
Yeah, you know, and here, if I was a better person, I would have drained that ditch before they started construction. But I was so busy laughing at them because they didn't know what they were doing, that, you know, I just let it go.
Well,
And
they
that
knew
was-
what
that
they
was
were
a-
doing.
That was cruel. But, you know, it took 2 nights. I dug a 150-foot trench, and the trench is still there. They've made some improvements. It drains nice now, and you can play ball. But, yeah, you try to tell them, and, you know, they weren't going to hear it. Here, if you flood the park, you're going to affect the waterway. That water pipe on the side of the thing broke, what, 3 times in a year? Because it was freezing, because it was all saturated. That water level, I don't want to go on a tangent. You guys have said enough for tonight, and I just wanted to thank you. It was interesting listening to you talk. I
Thank
mean,
you.
you haven't lost it, I guess. It sounds like the old
Thanks,
mics for a
Joe.
second there. But welcome the new intern chief, fire department. My hat's off to both of you. You guys truly heroes. Everybody under your belts, you know, God's going to be watching over you. So we'll say a prayer for both forces. Like I said, they represent the best that Tinley has to offer.
Thank you, Joe.
We'll finish the story next time. You guys went off a lot. And look at this.
Appreciate it.
I'm a minute under, not bad. Yeah,
Thanks,
but-
Joe.
Yeah, but it was really interesting listening to you talk. All of you. I mean, you all said quite a bit tonight. It was pretty good.
Do you want the copy of it?
That's okay.
You can have it.
I remember a lot.
Okay, you do.
See you later.
Thanks, Joe. Have a great night.
Bye.
Next, we'll move on to item number 24.
Yeah, I think he's still.
Oh, go ahead.
No?
I just wanted to thank the board and everyone here for your honesty and integrity and transparency. I've been to lots of board meetings on the west end of the 19th Senate District, and this is by far the friendliest. So you guys get the friendly award. But I want to say thank you for considering what the people have to say. I think that says a lot about each and every one of you. So
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And it was nice meeting you at Oktoberfest. I remember you there.
We couldn't do it without great staff. Next, we have item number 24. Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the following? A, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. B, purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, clerk. We will not be coming back. Have a great night.